Okay, we're on. We're live. This is June 11th. Uh, Today's guest caller is Daryl Clendenin. We was scheduled to have a couple of guys on, and we ran into some problems Zoom wise. So they'll be on later on in the year. Daryl graciously accepted to step in and sit in the hot seat. Actually, he had a lot more hair before coming onto this show. I'm going to regret having said that. I am no.
Yes.
Okay.
My hormones have better things to do than grow hair.
Yeah, that's true. I got to write that one down.
Don't think about it.
No. All right. Anyhow, it's a good day here, and this will be on YouTube eventually. So we're going to find out what makes Daryl tick. He's been retired and he's been unretired because you can't quit. Once you're hooked, you're hooked. Even if you stop calling on the mic, you're still hooked. One way or the other, you still think about it. Very few callers are able to retire. So I'm going to start right off with, well, let's start like we do with most people. What got you into square dancing to start with?
What got me into square dancing? How how did I happen into it? You mean I was
Yeah,
I had an auto parts store at one point in my life, and a friend of mine from a neighbor friend came in one day. He says, "Hi, Daryl." I said, "Hi, Bob. What are you up to?" He said, "Well, I've been up to square dancing." I had done the folk dance thing in college and enjoyed it. I said, "Really?" I said, "I did enjoy that in school." What are you doing? He said, "Well, Joe's got a class going on Wednesday nights in his basement. Why don't you come on out?" I did. I enjoyed it. I stayed with it. Joe was just starting his first square dance club. So I wound up being its first president. And about a year and a half later, I went up to the stage one night and I said, "Joe, how do you learn to do that stuff? Because it just looked like so much fun." He said, "Here, take this record, go home and learn it." I did. He didn't know what kind of fuse he'd lit. And I mean, it just took me over. I could not get enough. At the time, I was a marine pipe fitter down in the shipyards and a welder, pipe, not plumbing, but big pipe. And of course, working in the double bottoms, I'd be down there and get a joint done. I'd pull out my soapstone, I'd reach up on the overhead, and I was diagramming culls. Don Beck is a master at mental image. Well, I was not a master at it, excuse me, but I used it when I was a new caller. And so I doubt it's true, but at the time that we were making troop carrier ships for hauling servicemen to Vietnam, and I'm sure if any of those ships are left, you can look up in the double bottom and still see my diagramming in there. What a way to learn how to square dance call. But how did I get started? Now you know. I've kept that a secret for the last 54 years. You're the first ones to hear that.
yeah. All right.
Yeah, right. Okay, any questions, anybody? Are we done yet?
Yeah. This is not the Jimmy Fallon show. Whatever.
Interviews, one of the things you had on the Joe, he gives you these sample questions and everything. One of them was asked, "Are you nervous before a dance?" Not really, but before an interview, I get very nervous. So you
That's
will
good.
excuse me. Uh, Go ahead, Joe. What were you going to ask?
Well, I think I'm done. No, uh, well, that's how you became a caller, and you learned dancing. Who were maybe this would be a good one. Who are some of the people that were your who you looked up to as callers and tried to emulate?
Lord, all of them when I was starting. Uh, and back in the day, for those of you who've been around for a long time, you'll know what I'm talking about. I live in a metropolitan area, and it seemed like at least once a month we had a big name caller coming through. It'd be a Ken Bauer, or Don Franklin, or Frank Lane, or Bill Peters, or blah, 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 on and on and on. So I got to dance to and listen to some of the best in the business right up front at their dances, and I would not miss one for anything. I would always go up and have my little cassette recorder. I'd say, "Gee, Bob, can I record the dance? I'm a new caller." "Sure, go ahead." I'd record it, and like I say, at the time I was working shipyards. I come home from the shipyards just absolutely filthy with fuel oil and everything else. So I would go into a good hot bathtub, kick back, turn on the tape of that dance, and lean back and listen to how the real players delivered their material. And I just tried my best to pick up on something from every one of them. Get up, shower off, head for my basement, spend the next couple of hours down there practicing. And I did that day after day after day after day after day. There's no way I could get it was salty peanuts to me. Uh, Calling has never been a job to me. It's been a passion from the start. And there's no part of it that I didn't want to have a piece of or be a part of anyway. I was lucky at the time. Jake King had just written his book. I learned how to do it. Not to the depth that Don Beck does it, but I was calling uh, without reading. I could call without reading. We had about 50 callers in our metropolitan area, and there was myself and one other caller who could call without reading everything they did. Well, not the only caller school I ever went through. I only went through one, and it was put on by our local callers association. And they taught us how to write a figure on a 3x5 card, get up on the stage and call it. So the idea of calling without having any written material was pretty astounding to them back then. So they wanted to learn how to do it. Here I am. I've only been calling for a couple of years, and I'm teaching callers. And I've been teaching callers ever since. Not always J. King mental image, although if they want that, I can give them what I learned. Nice thing about calling, gang, is you can't learn anything that isn't going to be useful forever. You never lose any piece of it, and that's a good thing. Am I talking too much, Joe?
No, 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 no. That's a
What was your question? Oh, the ones that influenced me. Is that what it was?
yeah.
Okay, Bob Fisk, Pearl Maine, Don Franklin, uh, Lordy, Lordy, Burl. Did I see Burl? Yeah, I did. Okay, uh, all of them, all of them. Von Parrish was real big with
Oh
me,
yeah.
uh, and these guys all turned out to be good friends. Good Lord, I tell you what. Uh, Marshall Flippo had so many nasty things to say about me, he made me famous. No, not really. I was I was blessed to have got a call from Bob Osgood one night. He said, Daryl, we got this weekend going down in a Selamar down in California. They thought you might be interested in doing that weekend. I said, tell me about it. He said, well, we got Marshall Flippo and we've got Charlie Proctor and they've got me. Charlie Proctor on rounds, Bob Osgood on contras, Marshall Flippo, a real square dance caller, and then me wondering why the hell I was asked to do it. But after a number of years doing that, Marshall and I became very close friends naturally. And I think he lived for sitting there waiting for the night that we had after party skits every night. And he wanted to see me get up and do a terrible job and then tell everybody else in the country about how he saw me mess up a skit at a Selamar. Hey, it's publicity. No, he was good about it. He really was. But yeah, the guys helped a great deal in making me a square dance caller. So is that
That,
enough on that?
yep, that's great.
Okay.
That's great. Yeah. Um, so how would your, I guess, perhaps having or being so involved in square dancing, are you involved in any other kind of activities other than square dancing?
Nope.
No.
Other activities. I used to like to fish. Kind of got away from that. And of course, uh, when I went absolutely crazy and started spending the winters in Arizona, uh, my ocean going vessel, I sold because I figured that I'd buy one when I retired, which I have not done. So my fishing kind of went bye bye. But no, I enjoy painting. I paint pictures, uh, silversmithing. I have a lapidary set. have not done anything with that recently, but I would make my own bolos. I was dumb lucky there again. One of my advanced groups when I was in doing my Arizona things, uh, I had the fella that made all of the big, nice, fancy bolos for the top national callers. He was in my advanced group. He was an old, used up square dance caller by the name of Willie Williams. And Willie, he was quite a guy, but he was an absolute master at doing that kind of work. And he came in one morning wearing a nice new one. Excuse me. I said, I wish I could do that. He said, I'll teach you. I said, what? He said, I'll teach you how to do it. Wow. That whole winter, any spare time I had, I was over at Willie's and he was showing me how to do this stuff. Well, now all the bolos that I wear, I made myself, designed them, made them. Was just absolutely, hey, I've been so dumb lucky in timing and stuff and being at the right place at the right time and around the right people. Uh, just uh, nobody deserves it. But darn, I'm glad it was me. And what was the question again?
Um, Basically, whatever whatever kind of hobbies you might have had.
Oh, that's it. Okay, yeah. I've been known to write a few songs as well,
Oh yeah.
real songs. There again, I was blessed with a son that is a musician, professional, always has been. Uh, but I would get an inkling of something. One of your questions that you did send me, uh, I got to thinking on it. I said, I don't want to be just an empty seat at the table. Now, to me, that sounded like a song lyric.
Yeah.
So I would go to work on working around that. And of course, writing a song is just writing a poem. And then I'd hand it to the son. I say, here, see what you can do with this. And he would come up with music for it, melody and all.
Yeah.
So, hey, dumb luck, you know,
Well,
very lucky.
taking advantage of the opportunities that come your way. It's some people don't do that. They they think one track sort of a thing. There's all these branches. You've taken the chances and wandered off
No, most of it just plopped in my lap.
like horseshoes, isn't it?
Well,
Yeah, got
lucky.
horseshoes somewhere.
Yeah, you bet.
No, that's good. Um, on the painting, do you do watercolor, acrylics, or
Oils,
oils? Yeah.
oils. I've done watercolor. Um, when I was going to college, I was thinking I'd like to be an art teacher uh, until I realized that if I did that, I'd be going to school for the rest of my life
No, that's true.
to go to work. That did not appeal to me. So I dropped out away from that. And really, I didn't do a whole lot with the art until one birthday that I had there. And my brother, who's a fantastic artist, he gave me a set of watercolors. And that got me started again. So, me never cared much for watercolors. They're too unforgiving because the color soaks into the paper. Oils, acrylics are unforgiving too because they dry so quickly. And how do we get off on art here? I
I,
can,
I asked you the question because,
I can talk for a while on that. But
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
See, I
I,
wasn't too worried about you, coming up with filling up airtime.
yeah,
I knew I could get you sidetracked.
I
Well,
like,
I also,
I like seascapes,
I mess
seascapes and
around.
landscapes. Yeah,
Landscapes, yeah, that's
yeah.
yeah. I'm interested in art as well. I did oils. Um, uh, Maybe I'm a little bit strange. I usually take on something that I don't know anything about, um, and which, like you, it leads you down another pathway, which is great. And the watercolors perplexed me because, like you say, you put that on the page and it just runs anywhere. Well, I'm learning how to control that or make it useful. But that's great. So I'm just going kind of down my list of things because I know I could give you a question and you could go on for the whole hour on some of
I'll
these.
try not to. I'll try not to.
Okay, well, it's your show really. Um, oh, let's do this one. Have you had any particularly embarrassing moment calling?
Yes, and it's not the most pleasant, not the most pleasant thing. There again, during my winters in Arizona, uh, one night, uh, well, we had a couple dance with us regularly, Otto and Ann. And one night I hadn't seen Otto and Ann for a couple of weeks. But one night Ann came in and I said, "Where's Otto?" I said this from the stage. And of course, she broke out crying and ran out of the hall. Otto had passed away and I hadn't heard it. That was the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to me on stage.
Hmm.
And so, like I say, it's not a pleasant memory.
Yeah.
If I were looking for one that's slightly funny, early on in my calling, uh, the wife used to make my shirts and my slacks. Well, she didn't get the slacks right one night because the back end of it, the stitching came loose. So I had, other than my shorts, my bare behind back there. So that was a little embarrassing, but I wrapped my jacket around me and went ahead and caught the dance. Do what you got to do, right?
You do, yes. Oh man. Um,
Has anybody else done all this dumb stuff we're talking about?
oh yeah.
Can I,
Everybody
can
gets.
I can
Yeah.
I back up and tell you one dumb thing that I'm kind of tickled over myself?
Oh, absolutely.
I said when I first started calling, I was the first president of the club that Joe Getty had started, and they were going to have, excuse me, their harvest hoedown. And I thought, gee, what fun it would be to have a live pig at the hoedown. Now, I'll tell you what. Now I'm a city boy. You understand, I'm a city boy. But across the river from us, uh, I knew somebody that had pigs. And somebody told me, okay, grab the smallest one. How you do that? He said, get a hold of them by an ear and a hind leg. They can't do anything. Okay, got over there. And let me tell you this, you don't get the smallest one. You get the first one you can get a hold of, period. And that business of ear and hind leg don't work worth a darn. But we got one, put it in the back of the pickup truck, uh, drove it back through town with that pig back there squealing, trying to get untied because we had it hog tied. Went to my house, put the pig in the garage till about halfway through the dance, and we snuck out, went got that pig, brought it in the dance hall, and untied it.
Jeez.
Now, let me tell you something. A pig cannot stand up on a wood floor. I mean, that thing was slipping and sliding, trying to run around. We had guys jumping up on chairs, and that pig going wee 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 all over the place. And finally caught it again, got it out of there, uh, took it back, and then of course the next day took it back up to his farm. You don't want to do that. Uh, you can almost never get that smell out of the garage. That's pretty bad. That's nasty stuff. And the callers, Joe's wife, she was mad. Ooh, she didn't think it was the least bit funny. But okay, carry on. That's enough of that. True story, though.
Gosh, who would have thought to do that? So what were you like as a kid growing up?
Shy. I never thought I was shy, but went to a school reunion here from what in the world was that? Uh, just a few years back, went school reunion, and one of the gals that was in the class, she said, "Boy, have you changed? When you were young, you were so shy." I guess because I didn't ask her out on a date or something. I don't know, but never thought of myself as shy. Smart aleck, yeah. Uh, no, I don't. I don't think the teacher thought I was a smart aleck anyway. I didn't think I was that smart. Go ahead, Joe. What's next?
Well, how many of the two grades did you complete?
I went through 2 years of college before I gave it up.
Ah, it was it for art that the college was?
Yes,
No.
particularly for that. Like I say, I had designs on being an art teacher.
Yeah.
Uh, and when I decided that school was not a place I wanted to be forever, I just backed away. I still enjoy art, still enjoy music. Back in the day, well, I could uh, do some picking by ear on a mandolin, which I've got a brand new one here someplace that I haven't touched in years. But yeah, I was raised up musical. Uh, my mother said, every one of you boys, which there were three of us at the time, and a fourth came later, you will all play music. It was insisted. And thank you, Mom, for that. She instilled that love of music in us. And that lasts to today. So I can read music, I understand music, would make a terrible music teacher.
Why?
Carry on, Joe. What's
Why?
next?
Why would you make a terrible music teacher?
Uh, Technically speaking,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I know enough about music to be dangerous.
Uh-huh.
That's about it. I know what I like. Like I say, I can read music, but I always play by ear. Uh,
You probably could play one of these then.
okay.
I'm
Well,
I'm practicing on that one. Yeah.
believe it or not, I have one of those.
Do you?
Yeah, yes.
I had an old Harley that I took that off of.
Well, I think the dancers gave mine to me. When you make a mistake, you ring a cowbell or you.
Yeah.
Well, that's. Uh, I got tired of making mistakes, so I put it away.
Oh, did you? Down in Florida, they had a ship spill. They'd run over
Yeah.
and ring that. And I got to a point where uh, you couldn't convince dancers that if they made an error sidewards, it was their fault. You know, if you got the ladies chained across the way, that could be my fault. But anything that went wrong was my fault. So I got this, and I would every so often pull that out and start honking like crazy. So I have it here in case you make a mistake on one of your answers.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So if you could have coffee with any historical figure from the past,
That's probably the easiest one. Jesus.
ah,
That is, if he does not turn the coffee into wine.
oh,
I'm not a connoisseur of wine. No, I wouldn't that be interesting? That would be fantastic. Other than that, my dad, he's not historical, but I would love to be able to share my life with my dad.
hmm
He was my hero
mm.
and remains my hero today.
Did you get a chance to interact with your dad as an adult to an adult?
No, well, and yeah, barely as an adult.
Yeah.
So no, he died when I was about 23, I think.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
didn't, but that's what I miss see.
That's
Yeah,
that's
I was a fan.
that's a good. Yeah. I like that answer. It's borders on mine very much. So I think we've covered what you do in your downtime to some extent. Tell us a bit about your recording uh, business.
Uh, yeah, that's something I really didn't intend to get into, but I started recording on Greenwood Records. Got invited to that. You know, it's just a crazy. Like I say, my growing up in square dance calling was crazy. Everything just kind of happened along the way. Uh, I'd been calling. Let's see, Call a Lab Star in 1974. I was invited to join in 1975. That was 6 years after I started calling. 6 years calling. And at that time, Hololab was by invitation only. Now, I never thought of myself as an overnight success, but that's probably about as close to it as you're going to get. But the recording, I was recording, got invited to record on Greenwood label and put out a couple of records. And I was doing a weekend down in California, and I was riding back home listening to the radio and I heard this song come on the radio. I said, I want to do that. So when I got back to Portland after driving all day, I went immediately to a record store, bought a copy of that record, took it over to Les Roberts, the producer of Greenwood label, I said, that's the one I want to do. And he listened to it. He said, I don't know. It's got kind of a strange rhythm to it. That's the one I want to do. He said, well, I'll think about it. And I kept on him, kept on him, kept on him. And several months later, he gave me a cassette copy with the rhythm tracks on it. I said, sounds good. 2 weeks later, it came out on Chaparral Records. You might remember it. It was called Something About You, Baby, I Like.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I decided then that it was not smart to wait on something that you knew was going to be good and wait for somebody else to do it. So I took the plunge and spent some money and started producing my own records.
Wow.
That's what started it. And it just, that too just grew through the years. Uh, it's funny how things happen sometimes. You only have so much control over yourself. Uh, for me, I wait for it to land in my lap, and it worked out pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it looks like it has. So if you were to write a book, an autobiography, what would you use for a title?
Why me, Lord?
It's a,
I've it's had to be a zillion times when I was finishing a weekend or a festival or going through my one night stands going cross country back or flying to Germany or whatever. I said, why me?
mhm.
Why me? Nobody deserves to have had the life that I've had. Why me?
That's good. I like that. When are you going to publish that one?
Yeah. Uh, that one will never be written.
I started out a while ago trying to write down just memories, and after a few hundred pages, you think like, who else cares? you know. But
Well, what is fun is doing something like what we're doing here. And where we do that. We've got
yeah,
that select group
yeah,
on Zoom. Uh,
yeah,
it's for everybody's benefit. It's called Old Farts BSing, and you can't get on it except by invitation. But we've got a handful of, and a couple of them are sitting here right now, uh, of old time callers, old used up callers that we can sit around and we can swap stories and stuff like that. To me, that's special. I really enjoyed that, and I wish I could invite everybody, but it wouldn't be the same. We wouldn't feel as free to
yeah.
say some stuff that we
We
do.
get sued.
Yeah, well, everybody else, you could just only hope that you can get the same thing going.
Yeah.
It's very nice. Did I
Well,
get off track, Joe?
I hope so.
Okay, all right.
That's what us old used up callers do. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm getting these emails here. Record them with a hold for 30 years before making public. Hmm. Okay. Yeah, yeah, we could do that. Uh, I don't think we better record those. Um, let me take a look here. There's a few things. One of the questions I used to ask, but it's so open-ended, is what is your favorite thing about what you do? And like what can you come up with a favorite part of it? I mean, it's all good, but like, do you like choreography more? Do you like the singing calls more? Do you like
Yes. Yes.
all of it?
Uh, if you'd asked me that uh, last year, I probably wouldn't have had an answer for you. Um, and the answer right now, you know, I retired here this past year, uh, towards the end of the pandemic, and the wife passed away, and I was sitting around the house day after day. Of course, I say sitting around. I was sitting in front of the same stupid thing I'm sitting in front of right now. Uh, Generally speaking up or typing up things for caller training, which we did clear through the pandemic on Zoom. Uh, but I was just kind of missing everything. I was used to being around people all the time. I said, I know what I would tell somebody else to do, go square dancing. So I got myself up, went out, started going to dances. And of course, like any other square dancer, I had my favorite callers to go to. And one of them was Jim Hattrick. And Jim, and I could give you about four other names of callers in our area right here that I knew I could go dancing to, and they called good material, smooth, well timed. So I just kind of fell in with Jim in particular. And every time I walk in the hall, any of these guys would say, "You're going to call a tip tonight?" I said, "Nope, not going to call a tip tonight. I'm a dancer. Didn't come to call." And I was really, really enjoying the dancing because I was dancing to good callers and I was back out with the people. And I felt, yeah, that's really good. That's what I needed. And of course, Jim Hattrick just passed away here a matter of a few weeks ago. But during the last 2 or 3 months, he was going downhill quickly. He took some falls. They had to help him up on the stage so he could call. He called right up to the end. But I'd come in the hall and say, "You're going to call one tonight?" "No, not going to call. Going to dance." Then one night he said, "Daryl, call the next tip." I said, "Nope, just came to dance." He said, "Daryl, call the next tip." I knew that he needed it. So I got up, got on the microphone, called the next tip. At the end of the tip, in my mind, I said, excuse the language, shit, I'm home. I'm where I belong. Well, that was the end of retirement. Yes. Being on stage, calling, seeing the dancers out there having a good time, that's the best part of it. It's got to do with the people and the communication that you can have with them from the stage. No, I don't care about choreography. I like good choreography. I like good presentation. Uh, I like working the floor. Uh, Singing calls, I'm not a singer. I'm a caller that sings, but I'm not a singer that calls. We've got some really, really good singers that are terrible callers. Got some good singers that are pretty good callers. You've got some callers that are so good with their choreography that, hard to keep up with them. Me, I'm somewhere in between. I've called through C1 Challenge. Wouldn't give you a nickel for any of it right now. Of course, that was decades ago. Advanced, when I retired in 2003 from doing the winters in Arizona in the resorts down there, at which time I was doing 18 dance sessions per week, 3 a day, at least 6 days a week. And if there was a special on Sunday, I was probably doing that as well. Retired from that, came back to Portland, Oregon, got a mainstream club, did a plus workshop, and settled in to be what I call a square dance caller. And just happy to be just that anymore. So I'm talking too much, aren't I?
No, no, not at all. This is why I wanted to have you on. I knew that you would be shy doing it just from your remarks. Well, if you force me, I'll do it. But I knew that you would.
What I said was, and the only reason I'm doing it, Joe, is I told you, okay, if you get an emergency and you need somebody to fill in, give me a call.
Yeah,
So here I am.
that's right. And gotta thank you for that.
He said, Daryl, do the next one. I said, no, no, I'm just here to watch.
Yes,
Daryl, do the next one.
yes, that's it. Uh, yeah, I think um, there are callers and there are callers, and the, the 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 real to me the real caller is the person who is there whenever. It might be your only night off in months, and someone calls and says, "Can you fill in?" And if a real caller, they'll do it. They might be in their pajamas watching their favorite TV show, having a beer, but they'll change, get in the car, boom, and they're there for you. Have you ever, and this is a dumb question, but I'm going to ask it anyhow because it uh, proves a point. Have you ever double booked intentionally? Well, not intentionally, but have you ever taken a better date than the one you had? You know what I mean?
Did I ever take a better date than one I had?
Yeah. Suppose you had a date for, say, Rose City Squares in Albuquerque. This is fictional, by the way. And then you got someone called you and said, and offered you $500 more to call a dance for them that same night.
I have called up the president of the club that I was booked to do and let them know that I had been asked and got them, they would say, I never had one turn me down. Said, take it, go with it.
Hmm.
I never felt bad about that. Uh, it's a business. Uh, so, you go where the money is. And if you're going to do it for a living, you go where the money is.
Yeah.
But if they had ever said, nope, we got contract, you be here, I would have turned down the other one just quickly. I did get double booked one time. Matter of fact, for the club that I'm calling for now, after I've come back from retirement, this has been, I'm going to say 40 years ago at least. I went in and did their anniversary dance. And going out the door after the dance, they said, we should do this again next year. I said, yep, we should. Well, he took that as a contract and I disappeared from my head. And about a month or two before the date, I saw in the Oregon Federation Square Dance News that I was booked two different places. And of course, I went with the one that I had a contract with. I don't think the other club was very happy about it. I'm sure they weren't because they never hired me again. But it was one that Jim Hattrick had. And of course, I wound up filling in for him as he was in the hospital and extended care and hospice and all of that. And they don't seem to want to let me go now. So they asked me, is it all right if we start calling you our club caller? I said, yeah, that's fine. I'll do it. So, yeah, I've been double booked. I missed a dance one time. I was out in the backyard digging worms to go fishing. got a telephone call, and it was Virginia Aldridge, downstate from me, about 2 hours plus downstate. Where are you? You're supposed to be here calling our dance. I am. I had just flat out missed it on the calendar. Uh, and I said, I can be there, but it's going to be a couple hours. She said, well, we got several callers here and they have their equipment. They can do it and everything. I said, I'm so sorry. A month later, I went and did a free dance for them to make up for it.
Yeah.
I've never intentionally missed the dance. I've never intentionally double booked a dance. Uh, no, it to me, it's almost a sacred responsibility just for the good of the business. If callers going to lead, they have to be good leaders.
Yeah.
So I try hard to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're on to that section of have you ever. Oh, have you ever ridden a motorcycle?
Yes,
Ever jump out of a plane?
no,
Fly in a hot air balloon?
nope.
Oh, you got to do that. That's that's fun.
I was Air Force. I'd had my share of flying. I was flight engineer on flight crew in reciprocating engines.
Oh, okay. Well, hot air balloon is a whole lot different. That's for sure.
I would imagine.
It's funny because I did, and I've had a pilot's license for years, and I was in the aviation business. With that hot air balloon, let me tell you, it's scary at first because you're in this stupid wicker basket. It's not made for people. What are you thinking? And you're up there, way up to the sky. Oh, but it was fun. Anyhow, scuba dive.
Nope.
You worked in a factory.
No, I built many of them.
Yep. Okay.
I spent after the shipyards while I was calling. Uh, I was a building trade steam fitter and fairly good at it, I guess, because I wound up running crews and I did run one of the larger uh, construction companies' pipe fabrication shop for them for a number of years. Yeah, that's what I quit to be a full-time square dance caller.
Oh,
It got to the point where I was calling practically every night, traveling out all the weekends, and had to make a choice between being a pipe fitter or being a square dance caller. Do you think I made the right choice?
you're asking the wrong person.
uh, Money wise, overall, I think I would have been a lot better off being the pipe fitter.
Oh,
But
okay.
I think I'd have been dead about 20 years ago. So no, I made the
That's
right
true.
choice.
Yeah, mesothelin. Although that can come back to bite you in the butt many years later, when you think you're free from some of that stuff. Speaking from past experience, do you ever pull taffy?
Sure.
Good. With your kids?
With the kids, I was a kid.
Oh, okay. Despite the age, some might say, yeah, you never outgrew that stage.
Uh, you have to grow old, but you don't have to grow up, right?
That's it. That's what my T-shirt says.
Yep.
I might be getting older, but I'm never young.
Mine actually says not this one. This one says square dance,
Ah,
but the one I wear a lot says, uh, "This is the oldest I've ever been." And 5 seconds later, you can say, "This is the oldest I've ever been." So it's one of those.
you're
Okay.
always right.
Yeah.
Uh, so you were in the armed forces. How long were you in the armed forces for?
6 years.
Wow. Ever think of making that a career when you were in?
They asked me if I would. Well, actually, when I got out, the Sea Rescue Squadron here in Portland asked me if I'd uh, go to work for them. I said no. I did. I did make rank staff sergeant before I got out, uh, just barely before I got out. That's a story in itself, but it was a matter of the promotion board saying, "Are you going to reenlist?" I said, "I'm not going to even consider it until I have the stripe." And the commanding officer called me in that afternoon. "I hear you were impertinent before the board." I said, "No, sir, I told them the truth." So they held the board again. I got my NCO rating and got the hell out.
Yeah, you made no promises. You just,
That's right. Well, they couldn't call me back without uh, restoring me back at my present rank.
yeah,
So
that's good. Uh, have you ever wished you were taller or shorter?
yes, yes. Uh, Taller would have been nice. Not that I'm real short, but I am a little bit vertically challenged. But I offset that with being horizontally gifted.
Yeah, and hadn't heard it that way before, but I like that. Uh, have you?
You're going to have to burn this tape. You know that, don't you?
Yeah, well, yeah, I will after I publish it. Yes,
Yeah.
but I'm
That's,
open to offers. You know, bribery works with me. You know, got to make a living. I figure if I keep at this calling business for another 50 years, might be able to save a couple of bucks.
there you go.
Yeah. I don't know how you aren't making a couple of bucks in today's world with it. That's too bad in a way. Have you ever been ecstatically happy? And what were the circumstances?
I'm not sure that I really even understand what that is.
Like happy,
Uh,
like beyond belief.
yeah, why me? That's the
Yeah.
thing. My I've had low times in my life, but mostly uh, it's just been very, very good. Um, Ecstatically happy. Can't say that I can point to any time that it's yeah. Don't know.
No.
I do remember, and this is dumb. No, I better not say it. Well, one of the things you said something about my earliest memory.
Yeah.
Okay, my earliest memory. It's not my earliest, but the one that always pops into my mind first was my first kiss, and I was in about the second or third grade. And Melba Swanson and I went behind the bulletin board, the rollaway bulletin board in the classroom, and had our first kiss. Now, I remember that all these years, and we our class reunion was for our 60-year class reunion was just what about just a few years back. Okay, uh, Melba was there, and we both remember that. Now, how is that?
Wow.
That's pretty good, isn't it?
That is,
Had a one heck of a kiss.
oh my. Okay.
That's
Well,
the first time you ever heard that, isn't it?
yes, it is. I've heard of first kisses, but not in the second or third grade.
Well, it surprises me right now.
Yeah.
That is true.
Uh,
And they and this gal said I was shy. Can you
oh, geez.
imagine?
Well, you went behind the bulletin board.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Extroverts would have done it right in front of the class.
I don't think the teacher would let us get away with that.
No. Well, you've certainly had a full life. It's not over yet. So, what's the next chapter?
SOS,
Sunny side up. No.
same old stuff.
Oh, same old. Yeah.
It's no, it's carry on. Uh,
Yeah.
there again. I'm back on the stage. I'm back calling. I'm back teaching square dancers. Uh, Matter of fact, I'll be doing that here in a few hours. Uh, I'm still producing music, although I'm not selling music.
Oh,
Uh, so it's things. Uh, Stephen, who's on here, and Yolanda is on here. They have a couple of hoedowns that we're using for collar training. So I'm still involved heavily in collar training. I I just can't help but think of how great this has been for me, and I get so sad at seeing what's happening to the activity. And without going into a long conversation about why I think it's doing what it's doing and where it's going and everything. If I can put some more callers into the activity, make it easier for them in any way, that's what I want to do. So I'm still spending far too much time in front of this computer screen, typing up things, coming up with graphics. Uh, some of you might have seen some of the exercises and things that I put on the newbie caller thing in Facebook. Uh, it's yeah, still caller training. To me, that's more important than just about any other part of calling right now. If there's going to be tomorrow for square dancing, every caller that has an active agenda in square dance calling and has club or they can mentor a brand new caller, they should be doing that. Because if you're going to save square dancing, that's what's going to save it. Takes callers to teach dancers. The fewer callers you have, the fewer dancers you're going to have. So,
yeah. Yeah. Is it, too many passing away, or just getting out of it because it's not doing what they thought it should do for them, rather
right.
than. Um, I know when you first start, you don't think that you're doing a great thing for the dancers. You're passionate about the whole thing. You just yeah. Did you?
I, when the dancers, when I came back after my very short retirement, I told the dancers, I said, I'm not here for you. I'm here for me. And that's the absolute truth at this point in time. Uh, I missed it so badly, and I didn't know that I was missing it because I was dancing and I was enjoying the dancing. But it only took one time up on that microphone up there to say, this is what I've been missing. I'm addicted. I'm addicted to that and chocolate.
Ah,
Yeah,
Chuck.
no, you're Asian. Whatever.
Okay. Well, if you could be remembered for one thing in your life, what would that be?
What would that be? Uh, I don't know. Uh, I I always thought Bon Parrish. Joe, I hope I'm not remembered for this interview. I
Oh,
mean, this is crazy. No, if I could be remembered as just being a good old boy,
ah,
that would be nice. I'd like that. Uh, yeah,
okay.
that I go for. Nothing special. Just one of the guys.
That's a good enough answer for me. Let's open it up to the rest of the crowd here. Uh, you raise your hands if you got a question for Daryl.
I'm always so damn thorough.
I know
Come
Don,
on, come on, guys.
Don's waiting there. He's trying to figure out how to turn his microphone on.
Yeah,
He's one of those. He's like you, Daryl. He doesn't know much about computers.
right. Sure.
He's just doing that monkey thing with no see, no hear.
Daryl, you made me. You said something about the first singing call. Something about you, baby. I like.
Yes.
The first one I did.
Well, I wish I had recorded it. I should have, but just didn't work out that way.
Oh, I got one from Carrie's saying, "What would Daryl like to ask Joe?"
Well, would I like to ask Joe? Oh, Lordy. Are you going to be there this afternoon?
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
I
Okay.
tell you, it's been a good ride, gang. It's been a very, very good ride.
Yeah.
And how many people get to tell somebody else where to go and get paid for it?
Yeah.
I've used that line too.
Yeah, well, no, but really, how many people get to do what they really passionately love to do and call it a job? I mean, besides Tiger Wood.
Yeah. Right. Well, let me ask you this then, Daryl. When you decided to go full time, you were married at the time,
I was married at the time, yes.
and what did she think about?
She was not really thrilled with the idea. But like I said, I was calling practically every night of the week and traveling out on weekends, doing festivals and everything, and doing my regular 8 hour a day job. Came down to the point where uh, I was making two paychecks, but I was killing myself.
Hmm.
Of course, the wife, she didn't understand how we were going to get by with less money, which we were getting by very well at the time. Uh, I said, we're going to give it a try. Got to give up one or the other. And I made the right choice. Uh, you, what happens with money? And money is a funny thing, but you live within your means. You just cut out here, make better choices. Might take you longer to get something, but you still get it. You make a lot of money, you spend a lot of money. You make less money, you spend less money. We always got by, not a problem.
Well, that's our generation. Oh, Don, you missed your chance, Don. I'm sorry.
He finally got found out how to.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's see what he has to say. Go ahead, Don.
I don't have a question. Oh, are you guys hearing me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I got headphones and not sure what mic's going on and TV in the background. I don't have a question for Daryl. I just want to thank him for lots of things. The only square dance cruise I ever went on, he organized and asked me to bring some East Coast dancers.
Aren't you?
I have something else.
Ask you, come in, be the next chief executive.
Thanks, Daryl, for it. Anyway, I want to thank him for being a friend since Color Lab #2. I want to thank him for still being a friend.
These are huge.
There's another real significant other than that.
Co-chief.
Stimulating my mind many times just in order to argue with him. There was something else too, but thank you for existing, Daryl. It's part of my personal life because it's meant a lot.
We did conglomerate.
Thank you.
I Yeah, I was getting some other stuff in the background. Probably yours done. Um, Anybody else have any questions for Daryl? I mean, there's no.
They've got all the answers already, Joe.
Well, I guess so. Well,
They learned more about,
Joe,
they learned more about me today than they ever wanted to know.
Joe, can I ask a question, Joe?
oh, sure you
Hello?
can.
Yeah, he mentioned his wife, but he didn't say whether she was a dancer as well.
She was a dancer, and when we retired from the marathon calling that I was doing, which means half the year in Arizona during working the resort parks, the other half out traveling on the road. Yeah, I can tell stories about that too, for that matter. When we came back to Portland, settled in, I taught her how to cue round dances, and she was my round dance cuer. So that was kind of nice too.
Hmm.
But yes, she was a square dancer and a round dance cuer, and we were both dancers and cuers.
Hmm.
And a wonderful friend for once a year when I used to meet her at Color.
Well, yes.
So yeah, did you do any European tours and whatnot, Daryl?
I did Scandinavia. I did Germany. I've been to France. I've been to yeah, yes. Uh, Australia twice. I've been to New Zealand, Fiji, the Yukon Territory, most of the Canadian provinces, practically all of the United States. There's never been to Rhode Island or Maine, that upper northeast corner there. But the rest of the states I've been in at one time or more. Yeah, I've been around.
Mm-hmm.
Around.
What that's part of the horizontal giftedness. You've been around. Um,
I think I called the first square dance on the Great Wall of China. Now, Jack Murtha was taking groups over, and he was working with the Chinese over there before I went. But I don't believe he actually called dancing on the Great Wall, which I did.
Hmm.
And another caller, a friend of mine, came along. He also called there, a fellow by the name of Craig Abercrombie. But yeah, it's been crazy. Been a good ride.
Of the recordings that you made, or had made on your label, do you have a favorite one?
I have one that I like to tell the story of more than anything else.
Go ahead. Yeah.
The Wizard on the Hill.
Oh yeah.
Okay, well that one, the original was done by the Dipsy Doodle Construction Company Band. And it was done on kazoos, you know. And I thought, dang, that's neat. It was one of those achy breaky type tunes. It was there totally on fire for about 2 or 3 weeks. It was gone forever. But I heard that and I said, that ought to make a good square dance. And at the time, I had an uncle that was a square dance caller down in Northern California. And I was down there shortly after I heard that. And I bought the record and I took it down there. I told my aunt and uncle, I said, I'm going to make square dance out of that. They said, out of that? Yeah, it's going to be good. You're going to make a square dance? Oh, they thought it was terrible. We went ahead and made it, and that was one of the best selling records that we ever made. It was used for clogging. It was used as a round dance. It was used, as square dance. It was used as hoedown. Yeah, it did pretty good. But yeah, we didn't do it on kazoos.
Well, it's funny because uh, it was probably last year that I was going through a bunch of my records, and one of my favorites is Faded Photographs.
Oh, years.
Years, yeah, yeah, years. Uh, it's kind of difficult though, depending on your past and everything as to when and how to use that. Uh,
Yeah.
it, it can produce different emotions for people as well as the caller. But I was surprised at how many Chinook records I had when I come right down to it. Um, in good many than this. I probably have more favorites in that label actually than
Well,
any other label. Uh,
I'll tell you, The Wizard on the Hill, uh, Play Me Some Ray.
oh yes,
Uh, we had the Chaparral gang and everybody. They were starting all their weekends. Marshall Flippo, he grabbed that. He was starting all his festival dances, and just so many of them were doing that one. It was a biggie. The Old Lamplighter,
yep, I use that all the time. Yeah,
a good one. Yeah, we've had some that were better than average. Sitting on Top of the World, Hummingbird,
hmm,
you know,
that one.
a lot of tunes.
Yeah. Well, we've gone over well, your best before due date is slowly coming to an end here. Okay,
Okay, yeah. Well,
whatever the heck that is.
I talked too much. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah, you didn't give anybody else a chance to talk.
That
No,
might be safe. That's
yeah,
just
no. Well, I think we've touched at least the tip of the iceberg to some extent. I mean, we could do a full hour on any one little portion of your past and hopefully your future things coming up. Oh, what superpower did you choose?
I thought about that a lot. Uh, I used to dream about levitating, but that seemed like kind of a useless thing. I thought about telepathy,
Ooh,
but who really wants to hear what people are thinking about them all the time? Uh, no, invisible. That might be fun, except you run the risk of getting run over by a semi trailer, truck and trailer. You know, what that there's good and bad and all of those things. No, I'm very, very happy just the way I am. I don't need any superpowers. It's
other than calling.
that's uh, I think it's super, but I'm not so sure everybody else does. I've done well enough to get by, but
Yeah, right. That's for sure. No, that's great. Well, I got to thank you so much for filling in and probably get you back on again another time when we can.
when somebody has to be, when you have the need of fill in.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I think Carrie had asked, well, why wouldn't I fill in? Well, I want to give a little more planning to it so I'm ready. I know how mean or how tough it can be. It's easy to ask the question, but when someone else asks you to answer the question, oh, that's
Keep that in mind.
yeah. Well, I thought Dave and Dave from last week had a good idea for that for me. Is to invite all the callers that have been on to come up with a question each and interview me that way. That's a hot seat.
Yeah.
So next week, I think it's Todd, isn't it? You, Todd? Yeah, Todd Fellagy's going to be on, and you know, even though I haven't met many of the callers that I have on, or no, I can't really say that. Some of the callers I haven't met. I don't remember ever meeting Daryl actually, but we must have passed in Caller Lab. I was there in, seemed to me it was 74. It was in the, I think it was the third meeting, and each caller that was there, they only had about 70 or so, was asked to invite another person, and I was invited in that round, and I went faithfully for many years, and until life got in the way. So I'm surprised that we hadn't met. Don doesn't remember, but I remember calling what I consider one of my worst dances, and he was at it. He doesn't seem to remember it, thank goodness. Todd, I remember from a number of times we've called at the same festivals and dances different times. Of course, Mike Gormley from Florida, very definitely. Other than that, I haven't met a number of folks that are on today. I used to go into Chicago all the time, so I'm surprised I don't remember Kerry. But that might have been before his time. So anyhow, so next week we got Father's Day. We got Todd Fellogy. He's father to many flowers. If you ever follow his Facebook, flowers and a cat or two. Yeah. So looking forward to that. So thanks for everybody for joining us live, and good luck to those of you that want to follow on YouTube, and keep the suggestions going. I keep getting suggestions on different things going on as we go. Always open to. I don't follow every suggestion, but I'm glad to get them. It means you've got some things you'd like to see. But definitely, if you get a chance to dance to Daryl, make the effort. You don't call 18 dances a week minimum for how many years did you do that, Daryl?
Well, not that many. I did the resort parks for 16 years.
Ay, ay, ay.
But at the end, it was up to 18 dances a week.
Yeah.
That grew through the years. It started when I first went down, it was 11, and it grew from there. And of course, I went down for one resort park and wound up with 5 of them before I finished. So,
Wow. Yeah. That's how that happens. Okay. Well, thanks, folks, for joining us, and we'll see you next week.